Hi, welcome to another Massachusetts Pirate News. Today I'm joined by Quartermaster Joe and First Officer Steve. How are you two?
Ahoy, I am fantastic.
I'm doing good.
Excellent. So we put together a fairly brief show for you. Thanksgiving's coming up, of course, on Thursday. And we have our own election that now that the general election is done, we have our own election for Pirate Council. And so all members have been emailed their ballots with their special code. We don't know, we don't keep track of, all we know is they have the special code. We don't know who has what code. We don't peek. And then once the polls close on this Wednesday at midnight, we will delete all of that stuff. So we have no record because, we believe in the secret ballot. So we encourage you, it's too late at this point to register, shall we say. You would have had to have already kind of put your name in and join our mailing list and been a member or supporter. But if you are a member or supporter and for some reason didn't get a ballot or the code isn't working, you can always contact us at info@masspirates.org, and we will do our best to fix that for you. We do have a set of candidates. I will briefly go through that. Just for those of you who know, we've got Scott Brodsky and Elijah McGee and myself are running for captain. Joe is again throwing his hat in the ring for quartermaster. Steve is yet again throwing his hat in the ring for first officer.
Bandana. I'm throwing my
Bandana,
bandana
yes,
in the ring.
Elijah McGee, who's our current PR media director, is running for re-election there. For activism director, Scott Brodsky is running for that. And we have positions open for SwarmWise, web info director, and various council of arbiters, although I put my name in for arbiter. But I think that's 3 or 5 people, if I recall correctly. And those are the ones who, we have some interpersonal issue between people that is not easily resolved. So the Council of Arbitrators comes in and they try and solve that problem and help people out to resolve any conflicts within, the organization. And then for representative of the U.S. Pirate Party, so we do have a couple of open positions. So if that's something you're interested in, we'd love to have your help. And then for representative to the U.S. Pirate Party, we have a primary and a backup is how we do it. And first choice, the person who gets the most votes will win first position, second runner-up. The first runner-up will be in the assistant position. And the folks for that are Elijah McGee, Misty O'Neill, and our current representative, Joseph Honorowski. We do use instant runoff voting, also known as ranked choice voting. We find that's the easiest system to use, and it's the most representative that gets us candidates who win with a majority. Figure that. No first past the post here. So with that, the ballot has the various candidate bios. So if you have it, you can read it. So if you have any questions, just email us at info@masspirates.org. So
I have a question.
Yes.
When are they all due by?
They are due by this Wednesday at midnight. So if it's Thanksgiving, you're too late.
So get them before you eat your Thanksgiving dinner. Got it.
And more the merrier. So with that out of the way, we are planning our activities for the rest of the year and into next year, especially running, encouraging and training people and helping pirates to run for local offices and city offices, um, city and town elections. And so with that, we have some other topics to discuss. There's been so much going on in the Twitterverse. But more recently, Steve, can you tell us about the awful news out of Colorado?
The awful news out of Colorado. Yeah, there was a mass shooting at a LGBTQ nightclub called Club Q. And basically it sounds like a person, we'll link to an article from the Guardian about this, but the shooter went in with an AR-15 and wounded, I think, 18 people before he was apprehended by by patrons at the club.
5 were killed, if I recall correctly.
Okay, thank you for that.
So far, hopefully no more.
Hopefully no more. I mean, over the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of sort of amping up of rhetoric against the gay community, and this is a really sad and unfortunate event. And yeah, I don't know if it's been officially categorized as a hate crime, but
It has been.
I mean, as to a lay person, yeah, I think it qualifies. It's really, really sad.
It should be.
Sorry, go, Joe.
I was just going to say it should be, honestly, because that would be against sex.
Yes, my understanding is the person who initiated the attack has a history of threatening to blow people up, or I think especially his family, he's threatened to kidnap, if I recall correctly. And it's just absolutely horrid what's going on there. And all the mass shootings are awful, but this is just a group of people who are trying to live their lives.
They're out trying to have fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will put a link in the description for how you can donate if that's something you want to do. And with that, other topics?
Well, I think one of the things that we were going to talk about was the Trump Twitter, just nightmare that he's obviously Twitter is going down the shitter. If you don't, I mean, you heard of Elf on a Shelf, Twitter and the shitter.
Yeah. Yeah, where Mark Zuckerberg is like, yeah, move fast and break things. Elon, hold my beer.
I don't know. This, everyone at MySpace is just like, go.
Well, this is, I mean, what is he? He's been CEO for what, 3 weeks now? One of his first moves was to fire half of the employees. That alone is a great recruiting strategy, not. But then, towards the end of this past week, he sent a memo to staff saying that, basically it was an ultimatum. You want to commit to doing hardcore engineering, whatever that is, and working ridiculously long shifts, or, you can leave and take 3 weeks of severance, or 3 weeks or 3 months of severance.
3 months. I believe it was 3 months.
3 months.
I mean, they wouldn't have to be working so hard if you didn't fire half of them.
Mm-hmm. So basically, it sounds like a about 3/4 of the remaining people decided that they would take severance. So basically, he's eliminated 7/8, about 88% of the employee of Twitter's employees over the course of just a couple of weeks. And not only that, he's apparently bleeding advertisers, and there's we'll see how many critical engineers are still left around. I mean, tech products to some extent, or when you're running a big website infrastructure, there's a lot of days where it'll just hum along on its own, but the key thing is until it doesn't. And having done this for a living for a while, not at Twitter but at other companies, when things go bad, you really need people with an inside knowledge of how things work in order to get things back to normal again. So one of the funny things I was thinking about yesterday, riding into work, is for how quickly he's done this much damage to Twitter. What I started to wonder, like, what kind of guardrails were in place that prevented Elon from doing the same thing to SpaceX and Tesla. Doing a little digging around on Tesla, I found that, well, actually, Tesla does have quite a bit of a history with worker safety issues. There's a Reveal article from 2018 that talks about this. We'll put that in the description, but it reads a lot like a history of Detroit auto workers in the 1970s, where there's a period of time where our auto industry was killing more Americans than the war in Vietnam, which probably says something. I mean, in some of the safety violations at Tesla's plants are, I mean, they're really banal. Lack of yellow safety lines because Elon doesn't like yellow. That's he strikes me as not the kind of person I will ever want to work for. I don't know. Your thoughts, guys?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, I kind of think of it as like, the Heath Ledger Batman, where it was like Heath Ledger basically stacks up a giant pile of money and then lights it on fire. It's basically what he's doing.
Wasn't that Joker?
Yes.
Okay.
Pardon me.
It's in Batman, but
the character was Joker, but he was still Heath Ledger, best Joker ever, in my opinion. But still, that giant pile of money just to burn it. And
sort of like Kanye. Sort of like Kanye, no one can burn through $1 billion, blow $1 billion faster than me. Elon, hold my beer.
And this is why we should have taxed that money from him. But remember what he said? Like, I know how I made all that money. I know how to handle it better. This is where I outright say bullshit. Bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, it I don't know. I've been in software development for like over 20 years now, and I've worked with startups and I've worked with large companies. And if you're gonna go treat people poorly, then you're not going to retain your most talented and knowledgeable people. And he has a very perplexing view of software development. I mean, having people send him screen captures of their code, I'm like, what's that? First of all, it's like, it's not text, it's just an image, so you lose any of that. But I don't know, it's like he could have come in and
quick question.
Sorry, go, Joe.
Sorry to interrupt, but just quick question, Jamie, on that point of the coding.
Mm-hmm.
Just showing how much code you've written isn't really indicative. And I'm not a coder. I think you are, but that's not indicative of how much work it is. Because when you're looking for like a little comma in 1,000 lines of code, that takes time, right?
Yeah, I mean, to go and like some people will just spew code out and it'll be 1,000 lines long, and then someone who's experienced will come along and like gel that down into 20 or 50 lines. They've had negative code lines created, but the code is a lot more robust. It's a lot better thought out. You'd think you'd want to reward people who take away code.
No, this is absolutely true. There's one from a software maintenance standpoint, one of the worst things that you could do is take a chunk of code, copy it and paste it somewhere else and make little changes so that you have the same routine scattered, in numerous places. Well, what that means is when, at some point in time later, when you need to change how it works, you're going to change one of 5. And then, and then someone complains, well, hey, this isn't working right. Oh, I found another one of those, so I'll change that too. Well, now you've got 2 out of 5. Personally, I think that, someone who's still around in Twitter, one of y'all has got to have a copy of the Mythical Man Month. You need to give Elon a copy of the Mythical Man Month, or, just any of the management studies, that came out of early Microsoft. So this is where engineers, this was a time where engineers were sort of rated based on the number of features they implemented. So the most infamous bogus implementation of a feature was a software developer who was charged with the feature he had to write was to, something to set the line height in Microsoft Word. You look at a line, you see how much space the tallest character needs, and you set the line height. Well, this person was in a hurry, so in order to get it done, they just wrote return 12. 12 being the default font size, and it's like, feature done. we'll let this one wash out in quality control. So yeah, I kind of don't think he knows what he's doing.
We'll get to the point that you had discussed about Tesla having injuries at their factory. Another thing that came across the transom was Tesla's had a new recall, and you pointed out they've had 20 recalls just this year?
Well, so cars.com has recall lists for auto manufacturers, and I'm looking at the one for Tesla. They only show you 10 at a time. So, I think we're looking at 17 or 18 for 2022. One of the, some of these are pretty interesting. The autonomous, the rolling stop software. There's a software bug that may cause a valve in the heat pump to open unintentionally and trap the refrigerant inside the evaporator, resulting in decreased defrosting performance. As such, these vehicles fail to comply with the requirements for the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standard 103 windshield wiper or windshield defrosting and defogging systems. So you got a software bug, your defrosters don't work. Another software bug, an inflator bug. I mean, having 18 recalls in a year, I think that says something for quality control. And, when you have to bring in 3,000 or 10, 30,000 or 300,000 cars to have a problem fixed, I mean, that ain't cheap.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, I don't know. It's like we went through this period where we came up with, in the 50s and 60s, and American quality in automobiles wasn't great. And then the Japanese, they embraced Deming's total quality management methodologies, and they did really well into the 70s, 80s, 90s, and still. And it took the big three time to adopt that, improve their own quality. And now Tesla's coming in, and they're not learning those lessons. It's a software development model of well, just throw it out there and hope it'll work. And it's like that doesn't even work now. Never mind, it doesn't even work now in software. It certainly shouldn't work in automobiles.
Mhm.
You wouldn't
think
want
it's
your
the
car accelerating randomly, slamming you under a Mack truck or something.
Jamie, I apologize for interrupting multiple
No,
times.
please, that's fine.
So it's the same people that want to bring out games and then make you download like all these updates. Be like, oh, buy this edition for the same cost as the game. Buy Call of Duty and Call of Duty map pack for the same price of Call of Duty. Oh, by the way, next year we'll have Call of Duty again. It's like, no, stop. Just stop. And then there's Disney and all these other things that are trying to bring back subscriptions again for the media that you've already bought. And media that you've already bought online, they're literally taking it away. So they're trying to stomp on they're trying to force back into that rental state with all the stuff that you bought online. It's getting to be bull. So much so that Twitter, I was just reading somewhere that on Reddit, so it's not a credible source, but I was reading that Twitter's copyright protection is failing, so people are tweeting entire movies now on the Twitter.
We like piracy, so I'm not going to say anything bad about that. But I mean, they went and they turned. My understanding is that he must recognize there was a lot of microservices that they were calling, and he's like, well, turn these things off, it's slowing them down. Well, one of the microservices they turned down was how to do multi-factor authentication. And so, I need to log in, and to do that, I need to get a pin that appears on my phone or my email or is randomly generated through my app, and it doesn't support it because the service is off. That's going to be a problem. I mean, I'm just the thing that, I mean, you spend $30+ billion to buy it, and then rather than sit down and be like, okay, let me make sure I understand how everything works, and then, take the couple of weeks, a month to figure it out, and then be like, okay, let's chart a strategy that gels with what he wants. It's just lay people off because you think they're useless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've only experienced one Twitter bug or one Twitter behavioral aberration in the last couple of days. The tweet button didn't work.
Kind of key.
Yeah, it's kind of key. It's the workaround was there's a sort of a little thread where you can sort of a little feature where you could thread up a couple of them, and then, well, if you have two of them, the tweet button would work. So for a while, I was just
Okay.
So for a while, I was just working in pairs, man.
And the other thing going on,
messaging.
the other thing going on with Twitter too is people are paying $8 to impersonate other people now.
And didn't they turn that off though? But yes, they certainly were doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, that one. That one. There were some humorous impersonations. I have to give some creative folks credit.
I mean, the Eli Lilly one is certainly the one that gets the most attention.
Yep.
And for those of you who don't know, there was someone created a fake Eli Lilly account and then tweeted out that the price of insulin, right? I think it was insulin was too high, and so they were lowering it dramatically, and it caused the stock price to drop. Because, insulin shouldn't be expensive and is needed for people to just live and isn't expensive in most any other country. But here, they got to corporations got to get their profits. Yeah. So the other thing just to remember, folks, is we have a Mastodon instance, for those of you who don't know.
Link is in the description. If you want to follow us on Mastodon, you can do that. You can always follow us on Twitter, Facebook, as Mass Pirates, and stuff like that. But yeah, we've got a Mastodon instance, and do follow us there if you want to. Who knows if there'll be any fail whales in our Twitter future. Sorry, Joe, you wanted to say something.
Yes, I just wanted to say if you support slavery and you like football, or otherwise known as soccer, the World Cup is going on.
Interesting segue. Not that you're wrong. Also, bribery. Don't forget the bribery.
Oh, and just corruption in general, like players in the oil industry. If you like oil, and you like corporate greed, corruption, slavery, not to mention crushing human
Authoritarian
rights,
dictatorships.
treating people like from other cultures like as bad as you can, I guess. But having them pay for work. Who's that reporter that does a really, really good job? Johnny Harris did some really interesting work, like really dug deep into it. He's got some great videos out there
In
that you can
Qatar?
check out. Qatar, both about the corruption about the World Cup and all the people they bribed to get the World Cup over there, and then really started to dig into the slavery, which was really, really good. He did a great job on that. So,
If I may, one other thing. What was it? Yeah, it was last weekend was the Boston Anarchist Book Fair. I showed up on Saturday. Great event. Some folks from meshboston.net went and gave a demonstration and a talk about the network they're building. Unfortunately, on Sunday, a bunch of NSC 113 Nazis showed up and were promptly disabused of the notion that it would ever enter the anarchist book fair, because anarchists don't take Nazi shit. So shout out to all the anarchists out there. You folks rock, and wish I could have been there on Sunday to have helped you with that. So anything else?
that's all I have for now.
With that, thank you, Joe and Steve, for this. Massachusetts Pirate News comes out every Sunday at 7:30, except when it doesn't. We hope you found this useful. If you want to find us, you can find us at masspirates.org. Please like, share, subscribe, click the bell, join our mailing list, and all of that. Put a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And with that, I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving with your family, whether that's biological or not. Take care, folks. Bye. We're clear.